Hey guys, XJ here. So today we're going to go over the 2022 Season 3 release notes, at least the big points. And it's a monster update. New tracks, new cars, and wait for it, start zones in the ovals. So let's get started. Okay guys, so we're going to start with, the start zones. Now introduced to a multitude of the oval tracks in iRacing. Now, for a complete list, check down in the below the video. I've got a PDF there. It lays out all of the patch notes. We won't cover everything here today. We're gonna cover the wave tops and the big deal stuff. This is a big deal, and I want to start off with this one first. So, as you know, start zones are used in NASCAR to control where the drivers go and to take the green and start the race. Finally, we have got this introduced in iRacing. Now, a little caveat on this and some specifics that I'm going to go through are the rules that go with this. There is a learning curve, guys. There's going to be a lot of heartache initially learning this thing. So get out there, again, check the patch notes below. It'll give you all the details. I'm going to go over them here, but there is a learning curve here. Now, NASCAR has the zones, and they're recognized with they're painted, typically on the walls, the apron areas. That's where they're at, blue line, and iRacing is going to use the same thing that you can see here. Now again, it's not at every track, but practically every track at this point in time. I'm sure they will continue to add more as they go. Okay, so with the new start zone rules, there are some things we're all going to have to learn to get accustomed to this. Now, how it's supposed to work is that the leaders of both lines, all right, so top and the bottom, they're going to have to maintain this pace speed after the pace car pulls off the track until they reach the start zone. All cars behind are obviously expected to keep up. Now, there is a pacing UI that will now appear, and it will show the leader the current pace speed and their current speed that Race Control is expecting them to maintain as far as the pace speed. Now, this is going to appear once the pace car pulls off of the main track surface. And again, they say it looks and behaves similar to the pit speed limiter, okay, but less strict. However, speeding will run the risk of getting a new pace speed black flag for not maintaining pace speed. So there's one change right there. Well, there's more than one, but there's a possibility of a black flag for you, and it's going to get more interesting from here. Now at the start, and keep this in mind, at the start of the race, and that's the first rolling start of the event, they're also stating this includes any waved off race starts. Not sure exactly how that will come into play, but I think it has to play with the rules that we're going to go through here again. But the leader's got to maintain the pace speed until the starter waves the green flag, and that's going to be at a random location inside of the start zone. Now, again, that's the start of the race, only the start of the race. The leader's got to maintain that pace speed until the starter waves the green flag at some random location inside of the start zone. Now, if the leader takes off or even shows any signs of significant acceleration before that green flag flies, they're going to get a stop and go jump start penalty. Oh, black flag number 2. We're just rolling them out here. Now, for any other starts after the start of the race, so any cautions beyond that, the leader's going to get to choose where they start inside of that start zone. Now, the leader's still got to maintain the pace speed up to the start zone, but the leader will have the opportunity to take off anywhere they want within the start zone. All right. Now, when the leader starts, then the green flag will fly as fast as the starter can react to the leader starting out, and everyone else is free to move out from there. If the leader doesn't take off, start the race, or restart the race, however you look at it, by the end of the start zone, the starter's going to throw the green flag, and hey, it's a free-for-all from that point in time. Now, with the new rolling start rules, the pass the leader rule is also going to be different. The leader of the second line must only be behind the leader at the moment the green flag flies, and that's both for the start of the race and any restarts. So that guy is free to get ahead of the leader before the start-finish line now, as long as they are not ahead of that leader when the green flag is thrown. Now, tracks that utilize the start zone, they're going to have the zones defined via updated artwork. It's such as a blue area on the inside of the wall of the final corner that indicates the start zone starts and ends, where it ends. So pretty exciting. Got some spotter calls, and a rules tab have also been updated to inform drivers of these new rules. All right, now a couple more things to throw at you. If the second line falls significantly behind the leader, the obey pace speed rule requirement is removed for that driver until they catch up back up to the leader. All right. Another thing, if one of the line leaders ignores race control and receives a stop and go jump start penalty, the start zone rules are abandoned for that start, so all drivers can catch up to the rule breaker. All right. Again, I think that's one of those things where once that green flag goes, and then it's a free for all. That one's the only one I think that will probably be or potentially be an issue here when it comes to these new rules. Again, we got a pacing UI element that's in there now, spotter calls and spotter messages. So hopefully that's going to convey how this works. Now, if you do hosted sessions, keep this in mind. And I'm assuming this is also going to be in the AI, although we don't know completely yet. You have to check this box inside of that hosted session when setting up the event if you want to use these new rules. One important note, you cannot set this up with a hosted session via the classic member site. So it won't be there. Don't ask me why. Don't know. Honestly, I don't care. If you're not using the UI at this point in time, man, come on, guys. Just get over it. Go to the UI. That's what you got to use. That's what we are moving to. It's where we are. So, but if you're using the normal UI, it's there. Check the little box for start zone rules, and you are good to go. Get out there, learn them. Again, guys, there's going to be a lot of heartache over this one, and probably a lot of angry people. So just figure it out during week 13. We'll all be good. Okay, next up, Sandown International Motor Raceway has finally landed. This was opened in 1962. Sandown International Raceway made an immediate splash when it brought in the world's premier drivers for the Sandown International Cup that year in March. This is a very famous track. A lot of incredible drivers have run through this thing. And there's been a lot of incredible events there over the years. The track held its original layout until 1984, when an infield section was added to meet minimum track length requirements in order to host the World Sports Car Championship events. And eventually that layout evolved into the current 13-turn, 1.928 mile or 3.104 kilometer course that is used today. The Sandown 500 is the track's premier event, and it's numerous divisions since its first running as a 6-hour race in 1964, and currently raced by the Supercars and their championship. The track also hosted 6 occurrences of the Australian Grand Prix before the event joined the World Drivers' Championship calendar. And currently, Sandown hosts 5 weekends per year. 5 race events, I should say, weekends per year. And they're comprised of both modern and historic sports cars and open wheel racing machinery. This should be very exciting for a lot of the sports cars, and also especially for the supercars. Next up for our dirt drivers, Port Royal Speedway has landed. So Pennsylvania's Port Royal Speedway is also known as the Speed Palace, first opened in 1938. Half-mile track has long played host to weekly events for classes ranging from hobby to stock and to late models to premier 410 sprint cars. Its signature sprint car event, the Tuscarora 50, has been a staple of the track's annual schedule for half a century. Now, Port Royal made its World of Outlaws debut in the series' second season in 1979 and was on and off member of the schedule until returning to the annual status until 2014. Now, this track, again, another ad for our dirt drivers, which I'm a dirt fan. I'd like to see them add this to AI eventually. But get out there, give this one a whirl. It looks like a lot of fun. And again, it's bringing some of those classic dirt tracks to the service. And next up, Fuji International Speedway is here. When I first saw the picture released by iRacing, I thought it was going to be a season, maybe 2 seasons off. But no, it's been released this week. Very exciting. The track was first opened in 1965, and it's undergone numerous reconfigurations since it's to get to its current layout. Most recent design has it coming in at 2.8 1.35 miles or 4.563 kilometers and features 16 turns. The front stretch alone is almost a mile in length, and it forces those drivers to push for top speed coming off of the final corner called Panasonic before diving into turn one. This is going to be a lot of fun on this track. Since 1967, Fuji has been frequent host of prominent endurance races, starting with the Fuji 1,000 kilometer each year, and has evolved into the Fuji 6 hours in 2012. The track also hosted the first Japanese Grand Prix in 1976, and that event actually returned in 77, 2007, and 2008. The track has also been a longtime staple of the Japanese National GT and Formula Series calendars, and its application has been so diverse that it even played host to cycling in the 2020 Summer Olympics. So if you're not familiar with this track and you're a road racer, this is going to be one you like. Again, I guess this has got to be probably the longest front stretch or longest stretch of road as far as a road racing track I think we have on the surface. I wonder how it compares to like Circuit Paul Ricard, but I'm not sure. Anyway, a lot of fun. Get that GT3 or that open wheel out there and try it today. So one of the new cars to the service is the Radical SR10. Now, if you're not familiar with the Radical SR8, it is a fabulous car. There is a core group of drivers that really drive this thing, and man, they're fast, just to be honest with you. And one of the reasons I don't get out there that much, but this car is phenomenal. The SR10 looks great, sounds great, and it should be a lot of fun to drive. It's going to cost the normal amount, I guess, what, $11.95. It's not replacing the SR8, so there's not going to be any credit or bonus there in regard to that. So you'll just have to purchase this if it's what you want to try out as far as racing. The prototype brings the performance of a top-tier sports car and prototype programs to track day racers and country club members for a fraction of the cost. That's kind of the design of the Radical Motorsports vehicles. It's the next generation of British motorsports sports cars, takes the already impressive developments of the SR8 and refines them into the new 2.3-liter Ford EcoBoost engine, 6-speed sequential transmission, and other performance improvements that make that SR10 driving experience comparable to the most impressive professional race cars in the world. Now, the SR10 produces 425 horsepower, which is considerable, and it takes it from 0 to 60 miles per hour in a blistering 2.4 seconds, just weighing in at about 725 kilograms. This low weight to power ratio makes it one of the most nimble machines imaginable, and utilized in numerous one-make series around the world. There are plenty of places for real-world drivers to develop their skills in the SR10 and put them to good use. Again, if you're not familiar with the Radical, it is a great car, lots of fun. I just don't think there's enough support there to warrant a series, and it is unfortunate. I hate saying that, guys. And again, this will be another thing that would be wonderful to be added to AI, very similar to the Brazilian stock cars. So what everybody's been waiting on is the Mercedes-AMG GT3 2020 update, and it is here. Since the introduction in 2015, the Mercedes-AMG GT3 has been a favorite for sports car racing, and it has also been a prominent challenger as far as across the GT world. Car took home 5 of the top 6 spots, including the top 4 in the Nürburgring 24 Hours on its first try, and found success with Riley Technologies in the premier IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship events at Daytona and Sebring shortly thereafter. So for the 2020 season, the car received slight updates that include aerodynamic tweaks to the front splitter and rear wing, and aesthetic updates to bring it closer in line to the road-bearing counterpart. Now, over the first iteration, it's a 6.3-liter V8 power plant that produces 550 horsepower and has a 6-speed sequential transmission. So now we have the fully updated Mercedes-AMG GT3 here at iRacing. Get out there and run it. Now, if you own the old GT3 model, that will move to legacy. So what does that mean? Well, it means that car is no longer going to be used for anything official. They're going to replace this car with the official races in anything that runs the GT3 AMG Mercedes. If you have purchased the Mercedes AMG within the last 24 months, iRacing will give you a credit of $11.95. So you should see that in your account, and that will allow you to purchase this new AMG GT3 2020 model so that you don't have a loss there. Anything further than 24 months, I guess we're just SOL, guys. Now, the old car will move to the legacy, which means now if you want to purchase it, which I don't really know why you would, it's only $2.95. So go crazy. And next up, we've got the Mercedes AMG GT4. Now, I know a lot of people have been asking for this one to enter the GT4 realm for quite some time. We can now just get the Audi in there. This will be good to go. Compared to its big brother, it's pretty similar. Still packs a really powerful punch. It has a 4.0-liter V8 engine, which it brings it more in line with the street-legal Mercedes AMG GT. But it still produces 544 horsepower, according to the notes at least. The car also possesses the signature elements of that set Mercedes apart as far as for the design, so that you know that long, menacing front end to a signature grille that lets other racers know exactly who is behind them. This is pretty exciting that we have gotten another GT4 car added to the service as it starts to continue to expand out and get more in line with real-world GT4 racing. So, hey, I'd highly recommend it. It's going to enter, obviously, the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. It'll be on the grid, also be on the grid for the GT4 Challenge that iRacing has. Get out there, purchase it, take it on Fuji, see what she'll do. Okay, so next up, we're going to talk about what has been added to the AI for racing with the game. Some very exciting things here. And the first one out of the gate, guys, the ARCA Menards Chevrolet has finally been added to AI. I have no idea why it took iRacing this long to do that, but the ARCA car has finally been added to AI, along with the Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS, so the late model is in there now, the modified SK, the NASCAR Whelen Tour modified's in there. We've got the new cars, obviously, the Mercedes AMG GT3 2020, which you would expect the other GT3 cars are there, and also the Mercedes AMG GT4 has been added, which you would expect because the other GT4 cars are already there. Another big deal, the Stock Car Pro Series, the Toyota Corolla, introduced last season, and the Chevrolet Cruze have both been introduced finally to AI. Why is that important? Well, because you can't find a race if you want to race those cars with any decent sized field. You can't. You know what? I never see an official race. And you can sometimes find a hosted race. Really pathetic. Those two cars are phenomenal. No one's running them. So if you bought them, now you've got your opportunity to race them finally. So also, we have got added to the iRacing Racing Fuji International Speedway. Yes, both configurations. Sandown International Motor Raceway is in there, and so is Stafford Motor Speedway. Full course also has been added in there. Now, one thing I like to do, and we did it before, is to tell you about the AI graduating class, the school for season 3, and the many awesome topics that they have been trained on, and their courses and materials with some, in addition to matters, right? iRacing does such a good job with this stuff sometimes as far as their humor level. So bear with me. And this is some of their specialized topics for this season. Number 1, a backseat driver's guide to rear-wheel drive. Number 2, binary switches. Is it on or off? A crowdsourced project. Number 3, handling excessive slip like a greasy champ. Number 4, pushing the limit, maintaining focus with an active low fuel light. Number 5, growing confidence for close proximity road racing and other herbs. Number 6, Art-303, zoetropes and animation loops. Number, what are we up to? 7, 6? I don't know. Drag reduction system deployment strategies for the modern age. The next one is Tire Changes Take Time, a documentary in the Stories from the Pits series. And finally, counting with car numbers 0 to 999. You got to appreciate their sense of humor, guys. Come on, man. You really do. They've also said they've improved the AI's drivers' capabilities with additional training in the GT4 class, the NASCAR Cup Series class cars, the NASCAR Xfinity class cars, the Porsche 911R, GT3, and the Street Stock. So get out there. I'm a huge fan of the AI. You can be too. There's a lot offered there now, especially we've got the ARCA car. Oh, let the madness ensue. Okay, let's go over some quick things here, just so that you're aware, as far as still exciting, but, might not be as exciting as some of the other things. So the tire exploit has been corrected, guys. So that's a good news note. I know you've all seen the videos out there on YouTube. It's gone. It's over. And they've also instituted a little bit more scrutiny as far as starting the qualification lap immediately from where you start on pit lane to just outside of pit lane. So keep that in mind. But that tire exploit, is finally gone. Also, the new damage model has been added to the NASCAR Next Gen class cars. Also, the new Mercedes AMG GT4 and the new Radical SR10 all have the new damage model. They've updated some dirt surface properties and adjusted for the interactions with the new damage model also. A lot of other things that are mentioned there as far as some the calculations associated with the tire sidewall collisions, some other tire collision shapes, etc. Might want to get into the details there if you want to look at it. Rendering, here's another one. So you probably need to run another render auto config, graphics auto config for your rendering file, because they have changed that again now. Where that drop down where I think you selected, I don't know, VR and something else, and display, it's now changed. Now it's going to display just advanced graphics options, and it's going to have the name of the rendered file for you to choose in that drop down. Several things added here as far as taking advantage of some of AMD's Fidelity FX Super Resolution. Also SSAO as far as that space ambient occlusion post. And we've got some updates with the shadow mapping, surfaces at night, and some of the textures inside of cars that they're trying to fix. So all good news things as far as the rendering. Now with visual effects, here's a cool piece now. We're now going to see new tire graining and cording as a visual effect that's been applied to cars. So graining occurs when strips of rubber are torn from a tire and then immediately stick back onto the hot surface of that tire, and cords are the reinforcement material that's just underneath the rubber tire surface that you start to see as the tire gets worn down. So now this graining is you'll start to see it as the tire's life cycle wears out and get worse. It says it will get worse as the tire wears. So it should give you some type of indication in regard to, hey, probably time to go change those tires. Now, I love it. It sounds great, but let's be honest. It's probably really only going to matter in an open wheel series. You're not going to see your tires inside of anything else that comes to my mind. So open wheel, and even then, not all open wheels, right? But still, it's a cool thing. They've also added some other special effects, haze effects, fog lighting, etc. Updated also the particle system. So all good news things there. And one last note here. Sporting code, again, has been updated. Language been added about explaining incidents still count until all drivers have crossed the finish line. So that's official. It always has been, but it was always up for debate. But yes, all incidents count until all drivers have crossed that finish line. There's also additional breach of rules sections been added. Rules for tire compound change requirement and disqualification has been defined. So check that out. Links also there inside of the patch notes for the new sporting code. Hey guys, if this video helped you, please consider hitting that thumbs up button. It really helps the channel out a lot, and I greatly appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe, hit that little bell icon, and that way you'll be notified anytime I upload new content. Until next time, this is XJ, and we'll see you on the track.